Hello again to anybody who has been listening, and to those of you who are listening for the first time. I decided to do a part 2 on the Book of Forbidden Knowledge because, well, there's just a lot of forbidden knowledge. And some of it's really interesting and really fun, and I wanted you guys to just cozy up and listen to some of the rituals and spells that this book possesses. Outside of that, sit by a warm fire or cozy up under your blanket or whatever it is you need to do to relax and listen to some of these spells. If you want to perform any of them, I suggest purchasing the book. I'll leave the link below. And if you do, and any of you try it, go ahead and leave a comment. I'd like any kind of feedback. It'd be interesting. Thank you. Now let's get started. We will begin with the way to get rich and live happy in the marriage state. There is a tide in the affairs of men, which taken at the flood leads on to fortune. He that by the plough would thrive, himself must either hold or drive. For age and want save while you may, no morning sun lasts a whole day. Get what you can, and what you get, hold. 'Tis in a stone that will turn all your lead to gold. Therefore he ruled by me, I pray, save something for a rainy day. Remember that time is money, for he that can earn $2.50 a day at his labor, it's showing its date, isn't it? And goes abroad, or sits idle at home one half of that day, though he spent but 10 cents during his diversion of idleness, he ought not to reckon that the only expense he has really wasted, or rather thrown away, $1 besides. Remember that credit is money. If a man let his money lay in my hands after it is due, because he has a good opinion of my credit, he gives me the interest, or so much as I can make of the money during that time. This amounts to a very considerable sum, where a man has a large credit and also makes good use of it. Remember that money is of a prolific or multiplying nature. Money will produce money, and its offspring will produce more. And so $1.25 turned is $1.50, being turned again $1.75, and so on, till it becomes $100. And the more there is of it, the more it will produce on every turning, so that the profits rise quicker and quicker. And he who throws away $1 destroys all that it might have produced, even some scores of dollars. So, feels like an economy text, or economic test at the moment, but let's keep going. Remember this proverb, that the good paymaster is lord of another man's purse, for he who is known to pay punctually and exactly to the time he promises may, at any time, and on any occasion, raise all the money his friends can spare. This is sometimes of great use, next to industry and frugality. Nothing can contribute more to the raising of a man in the world than punctuality and all his dealings. Therefore, never keep borrowed money one single hour, beyond the time promised, lest the disappointment should shut up your friends' purses forever. And the most trifling actions that affect a man's credit ought always to be avoided. Save your money, invest it, have good credit. So far, this is a lot of good advice, but I guess it's forbidden knowledge during this time. Let me continue. The sound of the hammer at 5 o'clock in the morning or at 9 at night, being heard by a creditor, makes him easy 6 months longer. But if he sees you at a gaming table or hears your voice in a tavern when you should be at work, he sends for his money the very next day and demands it before it is convenient for you to pay him. So in modern parlance, don't post things on your social media that may make your debtors think you're just wasting the money that belongs to them. Probably a bad idea. Beware of thinking all your own that you possess, and of living accordingly. This is a mistake that many people of credit fall into, but in order to prevent this, always keep an exact daily account of both your expenses and also of your daily income and profits. Or, if you will just take the trouble at first to enumerate particulars, you will discover unto you how wonderfully small trifling expenses mount up to a large sum, by which you will also discern what might have been and what also may for the future be saved without causing any great inconvenience. Don't buy stupid things, save your money. In short, the way to obtain riches, if you desire it, is as plain as the way to market, which depends chiefly on two things, namely industry and frugality. And take care that you waste neither time nor money, but daily make the best use of both. I did not expect this to just be solid advice. I expected something a little more elaborate than that, but you know what? We're already in this far. Let's just keep on going. If you take care of the hours and days, the weeks, months, and years will also take care of themselves. There you go, personal. I have always found, by constant experience, that any business being first or contrived is more than half done, for a sleeping fox catches no poultry. There will he sleep enough in the grave, and also that lost time is but seldom found again. For that which we generally call time enough always provides little enough, for sloth makes things difficult, while industry makes them easy. I'm honestly at a bit of a loss for words on this so far. Like I said, I just didn't expect this in a book of forbidden knowledge. I mean, this is the same book that in the previous part told you to become invisible by stabbing a bat in the eye. Now it's giving me really good advice on money. Very odd. Very odd. He that rises late must trot hard all day, and shall scarce overtake his business at night, for laziness travels so slow that poverty soon overtakes him. Drive your business, but let not that drive you, for early to bed and early to rise is the way to become healthy, wealthy, and wise. Industry need not want, while he who lives on vain hope will do fasting, for we find that there is nothing to be done or accomplished under the sun without labor. Mind you, this was, the title was How to Be Happy in One's Marriage State. And so far all it's talking about is money. So, I guess that tells you something. He that has a trade has an estate, and he that has a profession has an office and profit with honor. But then the trade must be worked at, and the profession will be followed, or they will not be able to pay rent and taxes. For at the working man's house, hunger looks in, but dares not enter. For industry pays debts, while despair increases them. I'm sorry, this is also surprising. Diligence is the mother of good luck. As Solomon said, the diligent hand maketh rich, while he that dealeth with a slack hand becometh poor. For God gives all things to industry. Then plow deep, while sluggards sleep, and you shall have plenty, while others have reason to complain of hard times. Well, we are going through some hard times now, so take all these good words advice. Therefore, keep working while it is called today, for you know not how much may be hindered tomorrow, and never that business to be done tomorrow which you can do today. For since you are not sure of a single hour, throw not that away. How many are there who live daily by their wits, and who often break for want of a stock in hand, while industry gives comfort, plenty, and respect? Get off your ass, get to work, do something with your life. Don't sit around like a sloth. That's all this really is so far. Keep your shop well, and then your shop will keep you. For it sometimes happens that the eye of a master will do more work than both his hands, and more especially if his head be any reasonable length. For the want of care generally does more damage than the want of knowledge. If you do not watch your workmen, you may just as well leave your purse open. For the trusting too much, that's how it's written, to the care of others has completely ruined many a man. Therefore, if you would be wealthy, think of being careful and saving for women, wine, game, and deceit. Make the wealth small and the wants great. There you go. And this was all for the purpose of, what was the title again? The Way to Get Rich and Live Happy in the Marriage State. So, I mean, that the first part might be the case. It doesn't really go over the marriage state much. Because we've now reached a different part of the book, titled Omens. Omens, as signs that may be good or bad, resemble dreams in this, that they bring for us signals that we ourselves do not seek, and convey warnings that are much significant to those who can read them right. The value of omens. In olden days, when superstition had a strong hold upon the minds of men, the abuse of this branch of occultism led to much needless misery. But now, that the clear light of science has scattered so many in the mists of mere superstition, we can set aside the more trivial accidents of life, which were looked upon with undue alarm, and cease to torment ourselves at every turn with groundless fears and nervous fancies. While we still believe that many secrets of nature have been solved, to which we should give earnest heed. Thus, while we may avoid walking under a ladder as much as because a brick dislodged from above may fall upon our head, as from any dread of bad luck to follow, we do not doubt that there are many omens of more serious import to which we should attend. Second sight. Foremost among such grave omens, and nearest to the kindred realm of dreams, is that indication of future events which comes by which is known as second sight. Sorry if I stumble. Some of the ways some of the stuff's written is a little odd, so it's older, so you'll occasionally hear me stumble like that. Tripping over my tongue, essentially. A few years before his death, Dr. Johnson visited a place in Scotland where evidences of this mysterious faculty were frequent. For the special purpose of inquiring into the subject, and the following extracts from his account of it are full of interest. Second sight, he says, is an impression made either by the mind upon the eye, or upon the eye by the mind, by which this distant or future are perceived and seen as if they were present. A man on a journey far from home falls from his horse. Another, who is perhaps at work about the horse, sees him bleeding on the ground, commonly with the landscape of the place where the accident befalls him. Another, seeing another seer driving home his cattle, or wandering in idleness, or musing in the sunshine, is suddenly surprised by the appearance of a bridal ceremony, or a funeral procession. Things distant are seen at the instant when they happen. The appearances have no dependence upon choice. They cannot be summoned, detained, or recalled. The impression is sudden, and the effect often painful. I do not find it to be true that nothing is presented to the second sight but phantoms of evil. Good seems to have the same proportion in these visionary scenes as it has in real life. That they should often see death is to be expected, because death is frequent and important. Yes, it is, folks. It is very frequent. A lot more frequent than we give it credit, to be honest. So, be on your toes. According to Martin, an early writer on this subject, it is possible to some extent to classify these impressions and to determine the time between the sight and the event. If an object was seen early in the morning, the event would take place in a few hours. If if at noon the same day, if at night, it would be fulfilled within weeks, months, and sometimes years afterward. Interesting. So a vision can be predicted as far as timeline goes, based on the time of day in which it was seen. Very interesting. The appearance of a shroud was a certain sign of death. If it was not drawn above the middle of the body, a delay of a year might be hoped for. But if it ascended high towards the head, the mortal hour was close at hand. Spooky. The vision makes such a lively impression upon the seer, says Mark, that they neither see nor think of anything else as long as the vision continues. Their eyelids are uplifted, and their eyes are staring so long at the sight can be seen. As the sight can be seen. So that's an interesting little section on omens. Goes over strings of omens, night omens, a variety of different types of omens and symbols. And I'm going to skip some of this because, like I said, I suggest reading a lot of this on your own. Here we go. How to be a spirit medium. So for those of you that have been interested in mediumship, just want to communicate on occasion with those who have passed, this is the section to listen to. The spirit circle is the assembling together of a given number of persons for the purpose of seeking communion with the spirits that have passed away from the earth into the higher world of souls. The chief advantage of such an assembly is the mutual imparting and reception of the combined magnetisms of the assemblage. These in combination form a force stronger than that of an isolated subject, first enabling the spirits to commune with greater power, next developing the latent gifts of mediumship in such members of the circle as are thus endowed, and finally promoting that harmonious and social spirit of fraternal intercourse, which in one of the special aims of the spirit's mission. The first conditions to be observed relate to the persons who compose the circle. There should be, as far as possible, of opposite temperaments, as positive and negative in disposition, whether male or female, also moral characters, pure minds, and not marked by repulsive points of either physical or mental condition. Repulsive points. Wow, that's harsh, huh? The physical temperaments should contrast with each other, but no person suffering from a decidedly chronic disease or of a very debilitating physique should be present at any circle unless it is formed expressly for healing purposes. I would recommend that the number of the circle never be less than 3, no more than 12. The use growing out of the association of differing temperaments is to form a battery on the principles of electricity or galvanism, composed of positive and negative elements, the sum of which should be unequal. No person of a very strongly positive temperament or disposition should be present, as any magnetic spheres emanating from the circle will overpower that of the spirits, who must always be positive to the circle in order to produce phenomena. It is not desirable to have more than 2 already well-developed mediums in a circle, as mediums always absorb the magnetism of the rest of the party. Hence, when there are too many present, the force being divided cannot operate successfully with any. So, keep your mediums 6 feet apart. Of temperature, never let the apartment be overheated or even close. As an unusual amount of magnetism is liberated at a circle, the room is always warmer than it is ordinarily, and should be well ventilated. Avoid strong light, which by producing excessive motion in the atmosphere disturbs the manifestations. A very subdued light is the most favorable for any manifestations of a magnetic character, especially for spiritual magnetism. Of positions to be observed, if the circle is one which meets another periodically and is composed of the same persons, let them occupy the same seats, unless changed under spiritual direction, and sit as the most favorable of all positions, around a table, their hands laid on it, which palms downward. It is believed that the wood, when charged, becomes a conductor, without the necessity of touching or holding hands. I should always suggest the propriety of employing a table as a conductor, especially as all tables in the household use are more or less magnetically charged already. Yeah, it felt weird to read that sentence. Let me do that again. Especially as all tables in a household use are more or less magnetically charged already. If flowers and fruits are in the room, I think that's if flowers and fruits are in the room, see that they are just freshly gathered. Otherwise, remove them. Also, avoid sitting in a room with many minerals, metals, or glasses, as they are all injuriously affect sensitives, of whom mediums are the type. Man, those last couple of sentences are a little rough. I'm not too sure what happened there. I recommend the seance to be opened either with prayer or music, vocal or instrumental, after which subdued, quiet and harmonizing conversation is better than wearisome silence. But let the conversation be always directed toward the purpose of the gathering, and never sink into discussion or rise to emphasis. Let it be gentle, quiet, and spiritual, until phenomena begin to manifest. Always have a slate or pen, pencil, or paper on the table, so as to not be obliged to rise to procure them. Especially avoid all entering or leaving the room, moving about, irrelevant conversation, or disturbances within or without the circle room, after the seance has been once commenced. So it goes on to say some of the other procedures, methods, positioning from what I can tell. I'm just kind of glancing over it right now. The type of voice you should be using, like the impressions of your voice, different forms of media that can be used, spirit control, possession, all kinds of little interesting things. This next section I want to go over is the secret method of mesmerism. So we're going to learn a little bit of hypnosis. Especially during that time, I'm sure this knowledge was very forbidden. I'm guessing people are a little more susceptible to this sort of stuff back then. Not to say that there's anything wrong with that, as even in these modern times we are quite susceptible to many other things that perhaps others in the past had stronger mental fortitudes against. How to hypnotize. The method used to bring about the hypnotic conditions consists essentially in an imitation of the process of ordinary sleep, by means of verbal suggestion. Thus, we actually bring sleep into existence by acting upon the imagination through action and speech. The skill of the operator consists in making the subject believe he is going to sleep, that is all. It is not necessary that he should possess any peculiarity of temperament and voice, as has been supposed. In short, everything lies in the subject and not in the operator. Impress upon your subject the belief that what you say is about to happen, will happen, and you have paved the way to success. Give your subject to understand that you are perfectly competent to hypnotize them, and his imagination will do the rest. Assuming you are unable to get a person who has been under the influence before. I'm sure plenty of us have been under the influence, right? I will ask you to secure a person, a stranger, who is in your judgment would be easily influenced. Not one of those stubborn, overconfident, know-it-all people. I'm guessing the author got upset with someone at some point. But one who would be willing to obey your suggestions. The reason why some people are difficult to hypnotize is because they either consciously or unconsciously resist the operator's influence. They are not passive. Those between 15 and 20 years of age are more easily controlled. Having secured your subject, place him in a chair in a comfortable position, preferably with his back to the light. Before you commence to operate it, it would be well to observe certain conditions. First, do not let anyone talk or laugh in the room while you are operating. Disturbing noises at the first tend to prevent hypnosis. They distract the attention and thus interfere with the mental state for hypnosis. Later, when you have, as well as your subject, learn to concentrate your thoughts, noises are less disturbing. The most absolute avoidance of any sign of mistrust by those is necessary. as the least word of gesture may thwart the attempt to hypnotize. Do not allow yourself to get excited, and there is nothing whatever to get excited about. Don't be afraid that you will have any troubles in awakening your subject, as that is the easiest part of it. And there is absolutely no danger in being unable to bring the subject out of the hypnotic condition if you follow strictly what these lessons teach you on the subject. Having observed the above precautions, you may now turn your attention to hypnotizing your subject. You have put him into a comfortable chair and make sure that he is comfortable. Shift him about until he is resting easily, and say that he is resting. You do this for effect. Everything in his work depends upon the effect you produce upon the subject's mind. You are not, while engaged in this work, a man of original thoughts. You are simply an actor, weighing tone and gesture, testing the effect of a glance, a sentence, a frown, a compression of the lips, a persuasive unbending testing, these things weighing them, withdrawing them according to results, even as a regular physician tries and withdraws his material remedies according to results. A little repetition there. Before beginning your work as the hypnotist, no matter which method you use, your subject is to look at whatever you may request of him, and say to him very soon he will become drowsy, then more and more drowsy until he will be compelled to close his eyes and sleep. Be sure to tell him that he will notice nothing unusual about the drowsiness. Tell him that it will be just as pleasant as the approach to natural sleep that he has ever experienced. Let him not expect anything unnatural to occur, for such will distract his attention and make him feel excited, and less passive than he should be. Let him understand that it is for his own good to be hypnotized if he is sick, or to help him cure a bad habit. Tell him that you will not make him appear ridiculous, and that you will only keep him asleep for a matter of minutes. Tell him to look earnestly at whatever you direct, and never under any circumstances to look away from it, no matter who comes into the room or around him. He's going to gaze straight at the object and no other. And it goes over a few different methods, how to control your voice, the manner in which to convey your commands, the connection between you and the subject, the importance of it, and so on and so forth. Yes, the next title is How to Perform the Davenport Brothers Spirit Mysteries? Wait, How to Perform the Davenport Brothers Spirit Mysteries. That almost sounds like some kind of thrill ride, right? The Davenport Brothers Spirit Mysteries ride. Sounds like something I'd see in a theme park. Not going to really go over that one. That one sounds fun, but it's quite lengthy. And like I said, I recommend you look at it yourself. It'll be more fun. Oh, here we go. The most easy, sure, and direct mode to produce electropsychological communication is to take the individual by the hand. In the same manner as though you were going to shake hands, press your thumb with moderate force upon the ulnar nerve, which spreads its branches to the ring and little finger. The pressure should be nearly an inch above the knuckle and in range of the ring finger. Lay the ball of the thumb flat, particularly crosswise, so as to cover the minute branches of this nerve of motion and sensations. When you first take him by the hand, request him to place his eyes upon yours, to keep them fixed, so that he may see every emotion of your mind expressed in the countenance. So, from what I can see here, these are the methods in order to practice telepathy, or as they call it here, electrical psychology? Because, they're referring to electrical psychological communication, so I'm guessing it's like a telepathy of some sorts, or maybe some kind of empathy, because I'm trying to see if you're communicating emotion exclusively or not. Alright, so let's see what they say. Continue this pressure for half a minute or more, then request him to close his eyes, and with your fingers gently brush downward several times over the eyelids. You're getting kind of intimate, as though fastening them firmly together. Throughout the whole process, feel within yourself a fixed determination to close them, so as to express that determination fully in your countenance and manner. Having done this, place your hand on the top of his head and press your thumb firmly on the organ of individuality. I like that. The brain is the organ of individuality. Bearing partially downward, and with the other thumb still pressing the ulnar nerve, tell him, "You cannot open your eyes. Remember that your manner, your expression, your countenance, your emotions, and your language must all be of the positive character, the most positive character." If he succeeds in opening his eyes, try it once or twice because impressions. It's a weird sentence. Whether physical or mental, continue to deepen by repetition. Okay, now it makes sense. In case, however, that you cannot close his eyes, nor make any effect produced upon them, you should cease making any further efforts, because you have now fairly tested that his mind and body both and in positive relation as it regards the doctrine of impressions. If you succeed in closing the subject's eyes by the above mode, you may then request him to put his hands on his head, or in any position you choose, and tell him you cannot stir them. So, this isn't so much telepathy as it is like some kind of electrical control of the other person's mind via transmission by the hands and thumbs and brain and ulnar nerve, as it's referred to here. Interesting. Let's see. How to make persons at a distance think of you. That's the next section. How to charm those who you meet and love. Writing on the arm. And I think that is it. So instead of just finishing it right there, let's go ahead and what they mean by writing on the arm. The conjurer's explanation was a great lesson in spiritualism. I next asked him to elucidate the trick of writing on the arm. On the occasion of my visit, Mr. Forster, then, the raps indicated, the second pellet, he required the spirit present to write the initials in his bare arm. Mr. Forster placed his arm under the table for a moment, then rested it in front of a lamp burning on the table, and quickly rolled up the sleeve of his coat. The skin as without stain or mark, he passed his hand over it once or twice, and the initials of the names I had written on the second pellet seemed to grow on the arm in letters crimson. It's a trick I do every night. It goes with the audience like steam, said the conjurer. Very simple. Well, suppose a name. What would you like it to be? Henry Clay, I replied. Down went the conjurer's arm under the table. In a few seconds he raised it and exposed the bare forearm without a mark upon it. He doubled up his fist tightly as to bring the muscles of the arm to the surface, and rubbed the skin smartly with his open hand. The letters HC soon appeared upon it, in well-defined writing of a deep red color. Here you have it, gentlemen. Lead red writing, very simple. All you have to do is take a lucifer match and write on your arm with the wrong end of it. If you moisten the skin with a little salt water first, all the better. Then weed the palm of the other hand, rub your arm with it, and send up the muscles, and the blood red writing will come out. It will fade away in less than no time. If you look under the table, you will see that I have a little piece of pointed wood. I can move under that and write the letters without using the other hand. But that's a trick that needs practice. The end. Yeah, that's where the book ends. This is an odd little book. I mean, it possesses a collection of superstitions. At first, it had a lot of different interesting rituals. Then it turned into an economics lesson. And then discussion on omens. And then eventually how to perform the art of electrical psychology, or mind control, if you will. And then finally, it teaches you how to do a magic trick. A conventional, how do you do magic trick? Nothing occult there. Just a magic trick. Very interesting book. Very strange piece of literature. Well, I hope you guys enjoyed it. I still recommend purchasing it. Like I said, a lot of these books are available. The Tara Warwick edition, I'll leave the link below, as I always do. And yeah, I mean, it's pretty cool to collect this stuff. I mean, The digital formats are maybe like $2.50, a lot of them $3 at most, maybe cheaper, I've noticed. So I absolutely recommend it. Thank you.